Hey, welcome everyone. How's everyone doing today? I think the internet came back okay. The internet came back okay, which is fantastic. All right. We're going to give everybody, since we had the rocky start, we're going to give everybody just a little bit of time. Just a wee bit of time to join. Sorry, I'm late. Obviously, internet issues abounded. Yeah, obviously, internet issues. Man, and today we have such a good episode. There are so many good things to talk about here. So we're going to have to get into it. Whether you joined on time or not, that's your fault. If you joined on time, you joined like 20 minutes ago. And that's probably my fault. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about... Let's talk about security. You all ready for some security? Yeah? My hair's a mess. I just realized that. All right. There are a couple things you all should know about in security that happened this week. There's some FYIs. There's some definitely things you should patch that probably a lot of us use. And you definitely probably were pwned in case you wanted to know if you were pwned. So if you know this site, which many of us do in the industry, have I been pwned? Check if your email address is in a data breach, which is quite honestly all of my emails. All of my emails are in data breaches. Yeah, but Tony Hunt's the creator of Have I Been Pwned? So the creator of this site got pwned. In March 2025, a phishing attack successfully gained access to Tony Hunt's MailChimp account and automatically exported a list of people who had subscribed to the newsletter for his personal blog. So about 16,000 people got pwned by Tony Hunt. Now, this happens. I actually read a thing about people that were likely to be phished. And a lot of us think that we are less likely to get phished because we're smarter or more educated or things like that. And the fact is, that doesn't tend to actually be true. Phishing works just really, really well on a lot of people. I like to think I would not get phished. And the fact is, you can get phished. You can get phished. So it's encourage you to be diligent in your hook biting tendencies. Yeah, I chronically almost buy gift cards for my boss. Almost gets me every single time. I'm like, absolutely, I'll get you some gift cards. Absolutely. So sad day. But also kudos to Troy Hunt's work. He's done quite a bit of work in the community to help people, so it's fantastic. All right, CVE 2025 1094 PostgreSQL SQL injection has been fixed, but Rapid7 discovered a high severity SQL injection vulnerability inside of inside of Postgres while they were doing some research into the exploitation of another CVE. So they were basically working on that CVE and they discovered another one. So yeah, anyways, untrusted input. Yeah. CV arises from the incorrect assumption that when an attacker-controlled untrusted input has been safely escaped via Postgres string escaping routines, but basically it's not. That's not true. And so there's two things you need to do: go patch your systems. It's been patched. 2, escape your strings first, and don't trust Don't trust. But I mean, the thing is, this is the layers of security, right? Because basically they're saying, okay, if an attacker controls something that can make a direct request to Postgres, this is like another layer of security. Unfortunately, it just failed. Another big one that hit the community that I think might hit you guys is Ingress Engine X CVE 2025 and 1974. What you need to know is if you use Nginx Ingress, which is about 40% of the community is what my understanding is, you're at critical risk of having your Kubernetes cluster being taken over. This is actually high severity, high alert. Go check this out. If you use Ingress Nginx, you need to fix this immediately. This is deployed by over 40% of Kubernetes clusters. So it's a 9.8. Allows anything on the pod network to exploit configuration injection vulnerabilities via the validating mission controller feature of Ingress Nginx. This makes such vulnerability far more dangerous. Originally, we would need to be able to create an ingress object in the cluster, which is fairly privileged action. When combined with today's other vulnerabilities, meaning that anything on the pod network has a good chance of taking over your Kubernetes cluster with no credentials or administrative access required. So it is important that if you use this, you need to go patch. One of the big problems is that a lot of the times you don't have a whole lot of stuff setting in front of Nginx. A lot of times you can say, oh, well, there's mitigating things that are between the internet and, you know, Postgres, for example. Postgres, you can say that there's a lot of mitigating resources because there's a attacker has to get on your infrastructure first because you validate all of your sanitize all of your inputs before it gets to Postgres. But that's not true with this. You might have a WAF sitting in front of this, but this type of traffic would be hard for a WAF to filter out because it's your ingress controller. It's supposed to be getting the traffic that it is. So pretty serious. I need you guys to take this one seriously and run with it. Moving on, the new Linux kernel Rust module unveiled to detect rootkits. This is really interesting. I actually want to know more about this. But I actually want to dig into how it's trying to understand if you have a rootkit without like hardware. I understand how hardware might do this. But yeah, it uses some module address space scanning. Again, I don't fully understand it. It's really cool. Trying to protect against rootkits is important work. All right, prepping for post-quantum. I actually just wanted to share this with you all as a security bulletin. There's a lot of stuff out there that we've talked about post-quantum, and I found this really, really informative. I haven't gotten all the way through it, so I'm not going to speak about it. I'm about, wait. Yep, I've been there. I just passed this right here. So I actually have a lot more to go on it. I actually have a flight on Monday. I already have this downloaded on my save later to read, so I'm going to read more on it, but it's been good so far. Even though I haven't. So anyways, I think it's great because we should all know and understand our post-quantum. We live in a post-quantum world, whether Microsoft is telling the truth or not. We live in a post-quantum world. You better be prepared for it. Better be prepared for the shirts. And we already covered that. Okay. All right. That's our security. Remember, if you use Nginx Ingress, if you use Nginx Ingress, what do you do? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? You're going to go patch your Kubernetes cluster right now. That's what you're going to do. You're going to drop this video. You're going to go patch. That's what you need to do. All right. I need a 1 minute break. I need a 1 minute break. We're going to jump to ads for 1 minute. That will delay when our ads start anyways. I need a 1 minute break. I'm going to jump on that, and then I will be back in exactly 1 minute, maybe even less than 1 minute. See you guys in and then we're gonna cover just some engineering topics. There's some breaking changes coming up to GitHub Actions. And then we'll jump into some AI news, and then we have a whole bunch of open source news to talk about. So, yeah, I'll be right back in just a second. Was that a minute? Was that a minute? I think that was a minute. We'll say that was a minute. We'll say that was a minute. All right. All right, I'm back. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Got some engineering news. The first thing I thought got a little less praise than it should, at least from the things that I saw from it. Now, I don't actually leverage this piece of tech. So like I'm talking from a person who, I use Arch, by the way, and it just doesn't really help me as an Arch user, but I still think actually it's really good. Microsoft announces DirectX Ray Tracing 1.2, claiming game-changing performance benefits. But this is where I think people didn't give it enough credit. But it looks like the important stuff is already in NVIDIA's RTX GPUs, even the old ones. And this is where I think I would tell people like PC Gamer to think about the people that don't have an NVIDIA GPU. They don't have the ray tracing stuff that is built into a specific piece of hardware. The fact that they are able to do it in DirectX for anybody on Windows without an NVIDIA GPU, this is amazing. There are other people with other GPUs that aren't NVIDIA GPUs. So I'm actually really excited to see this because I think it will open up a little bit of a better quality for some people that don't currently have an NVIDIA GPU. whether you have an AMD or an Intel based GPU. I think it's pretty cool. So I was excited about that and thought that they should get a little bit more credit than just that. The next thing I think is actually probably a breaking change for a lot of people: notification of upcoming breaking changes in GitHub Actions. So GitHub has mitigated customers to a new cache service and will now be shutting down the old service. This process will incur brownouts of the old service before turning it off completely on April 25th. If your action flows are still hitting the old cache service, your workflow may fail during these brownouts, and the brownout dates are the times as follows. So they're doing these brownouts basically to let you know if you have been using the old service. Now, I would argue that this is where GitHub Actions fails. It doesn't make it easy to query what you're using in each service, in all of your actions. Do you use the cache service? It's actually kind of difficult, and it's not as easy as it should be. And so I think that would be a really great feature. GitHub Actions, come on, hint, is a way to find out what actions I'm using, what are my features am I leveraging in those types of things. So I warn you all, give this a read, give it a check, and see if you're using the old cache service. If you are, you gotta make sure that you get off of it. Otherwise, you run the risk of hitting the brownouts. Or even worse, you miss the brownouts and you run straight into a brick wall when it dies. So definitely check that out. We got some news in AI. Did anybody else see anything else in just general engineering that, yeah. All right, well, there was a joint blog that I'm going to give you guys that was done by OpenAI and MIT. MIT. And it was done on people that use AI chatbots a lot, like a whole lot. And I guess that there is a set of people that use it a whole lot. I'm going to drop the study here for you guys to see. But the general concept here, if you read over it, the TLDR, is that for these people, they actually display signs of addiction. That a lot of other people that get addicted to things, whether it's gambling or alcohol or drugs, they display the same type of traits as they do with AI, from withdrawal and things like that. And it's kind of fascinating. I haven't actually thought about it. It's not I've never been like, I need my chat GPT. And so I've never actually thought about it from that standpoint. But that's what this research group did. And it was very different than what I expected. I don't know if any of you guys have thought about this. I mean, obviously, all of us think a little bit about the well-being and the emotional well-being of online stuff. I think a lot of us have had the similar thoughts of like Facebook and a lot of what our social media does to our young ones. But have we thought about what chatting with a fairly advanced statistical analysis machine would do to people? I actually found this very fascinating. Part of the reason I didn't get all the way through the post-quantum research was because I was reading this. But yeah, anyways, I would give it a check if you're interested. It's definitely worth looking. All right, moving on in our AI world of wonder, we've got vibe coding. Need these 3 skills to survive. And those 3 skills are fantastic software engineering and a good understanding of what they're trying to do. And critical thinking. That's the third one. Come on, if you can actually vibe code, you don't need those. It's ridiculous. Let's move on. GPT 4.0 in Copilot. I didn't actually realize this, but before now, you weren't actually using ChatGPT 4.0 in Copilot. It was using 3.5 Turbo. Now, I know that Copilot has kind of been garbage as of late, so I'm going to be interested in when we're doing some Vim, if it's gotten a little bit better, because it has been like notoriously bad recently. But I mean, it's been using 3.5 Turbo, which is actually kind of impressive because it's kind of been pretty. It's been almost on par with like the O1 Mini model. So I don't know exactly what they do, how they translate those things, and what type of context they're putting in with it that have gotten it as far as that has. But we'll see. We'll see. Will it hold? Will it hold a candle to 3.7 Claude? I don't know. All right. What is this? What is this? Oh, yeah, I don't know. This isn't really that interesting. I only brought this up because I wanted to talk about Square later. And this isn't really worth it. You're a little late, but you've sponsored the whole stream with your 25 months, Russell. So you can be late. Russell, I'm gonna, just for you, I'm gonna go back and cover one topic just in case you use this. There was a big vulnerability that I did announce at the beginning of the stream. It's something that I felt was very important for the whole community, but Ingress Engine X, which is estimated to be over 40% of the community that uses this, is vulnerable to basically an entire host takeover of your Kubernetes cluster without any access. So it's a 9.8. I don't know. Like I said, getting a 10 basically means you don't even have to say please. They can take over your entire Kubernetes cluster, and it's very hard to have other mitigating resources because your Ingress, you kind of want traffic to come to it. And so you can't even necessarily use a WAF to protect against this. So that being said, if you're using this, don't say it and go fix your stuff. And by fix it, I mean patch it right now. Go patch it. You sponsored only the second half. Well, it's great to have you, and thank you, Russell, for sponsoring this week's news. And seriously, this allows them to take over your entire Kubernetes cluster without the need for any type of means that anything in the pod network has a good chance of taking over your Kubernetes cluster with no credentials or administrative access required. So, if that's you, stop watching right now. Don't tell anybody you're stop watching. Just go fix it, okay? It's actually a big deal. Mr. Lightning. Who's Mr. Lightning? You know, I did you guys a disservice. I should have posted this in the news section. We should have a section for like critical security. Maybe I'll make a different channel in the announcements channels for like critical things that are time sensitive. Oh, well, awesome. I'm glad that there's more communities covering that. That's fantastic. You guys should check out Raw Code's community. I need to do more in Raw Code's community. I always feel bad I don't do more over there. But yep, it's kind of a big problem. And yeah, you can check the in bold. if you're using these Ingress Nginx, make a plan to remediate these vulnerabilities immediately. So do that. Don't tell anybody. Just go do. I mean, tell your coworkers, but don't tell anybody that you're using Ingress Nginx, or you'll be mining Bitcoin by the end of the day, or training an AI, one or the other. Russell, I want to say more than 50%. I know they say 40%, or over 40. It is played in over 40%. I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like it's probably over 60%, because just a lot of people use it. Like a lot of tutorials use it. So I feel like a lot of home labs and small clusters, which maybe aren't as big of a deal as your corporate, and maybe they're talking about your corporate ones here, but there's a lot of clusters that use it. Also, since you're here, do we want to test out the fine tuning? I would say that I waited, but honesty is a big deal for me, and I didn't wait. So I know how well this model works. And tomorrow, if you all join me, you can see how we can make this model better. And there's one big problem that this model had. One major problem. Oh, well, there's that problem. We need to, what is it called? No, not that. Not that button. We need to, pi and activate. There we go. There's one problem that we suffer from. I can't run that model on my GPU. I could train it. I can't run it. So we're going to play around with some settings, but we're also going to train a much smaller model that should train faster. And it should train faster. So anyways, I'm actually going to train that one tonight so we can play around with it in the morning, because I don't think that there's anything extra we have to do. So join me tomorrow playing around with another fine-tuned one. So there is some stuff we can do maybe to make it smaller, or make it loaded less in memory, but I haven't played around with that so much. So we'll do that tomorrow. But I'm going to also fine tune the smaller one on the same data set overnight, so we have something to deal with. Okay, let's get back. So, okay. So the last thing in AI that I really wanted to talk about was vibe coding with the latest Visual Studio preview. We're all doing it, whether you admit it or not. We're all doing it. We're vibing a little bit while coding. I just do it on stream sometimes. Supposedly, with the addition of 4.0, Microsoft has also started to enable this vibe coding with Visual Studio preview. So now it's not in Visual Studio Code, which is disappointing, so I can't vibe code. But if you like to try your hands at vibe coding, give it a shot in Visual Studio and let me know how it is. Oh, really? Don't make me want to get a Mac Studio. How much is a Mac Studio? One second. Now you have me wondering, is this cheaper than the AI machine that I want to buy. Let's see. No, the AI machine is cheaper. This one's starting at 4. Yeah. Oh, the Apple tax on memory. Oh my goodness, the app $4,000 for the not even a, oh my goodness, the Apple tax on memory. This isn't cheaper at all. That hurt me. That hurt me to my core. I think we could go a little cheaper. No, we can't, because to get the 512, you have to get the better one. Oh my goodness. Almost 10 grand. Okay, so we're still going to go with the AI machine when I'm allowed to buy it. No, I was going to say, is this actually a cheaper AI machine? Like, is that what I could do with it? The answer is no. The Apple tax on memory is not as bad as the NVIDIA tax on memory. Okay. Just joking. We're not doing that. Calm down. Put your pitchforks back away, okay? And now other people got pitchforks out because I said something bad about Apple. You can't win. It's literally the internet. You cannot win. You will make people upset. All right. First thing, this should terrify us all. I want to say I hate saying this, but there should be a law stopping this. There should be but we should just as a society say, boo, we don't want you. Okay? Okay? Nobody should do this. DoorDash partners with Klarna, so diners can put food delivery on installments. That's right. Just you've gone too far, DoorDash. You've gone too far. Now, they did say that it was only going to be for purchases of $35, which I've never been able to buy food for my family for less than $35. You've gone too far. This isn't really tech news, but DoorDash kind of is a tech company. So I put it in there just to call them out and say they've gone too far. That's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. Because somebody needed to. Klarna IPO is soon, isn't it? Oh, that hurts me. Please don't do that. Please don't put your food on payment plans. Yeah. All right. Oh, Klarna IPO is soon? Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, they are IPO. I knew this, didn't I? I did know this. Oh, the stars align. The stars align. I think it's terribly sad because I think this gets predatory. Like the payday loans were predatory. I think Klarna is finding itself in the same place as other lenders, that it starts to become predatory. Anyways, please don't do this, people. That's all I have to say. All right. I was going to read this. Read the email Jack Dorsey sent as he cut 931s of Block staff. Now, instead of doing that, though, I actually want to take a step to look at what's being said in this. Fintech Block laid off 931 people, or roughly 8% of the company. With these numbers, I can do at least some basic math. We can say that roughly they have about 11,000 people left at the company. This is going to matter because we want to understand the structure of Block and what they're trying to do. Because if you actually read, Dorsey says that it's not because It isn't because of money or financial problems that they're laying block off. So 391 people are being cut for strategy reasons, 460 people are cut for performance reason, and 80 are being cut to flatten Block's hierarchy to inner core +4. Now, if we put all these numbers together and put in a little bit of basic math, we can say that 831 people, roughly 8%, makes the company about 11,000 people, maybe slightly more. It really depends on how roughly that 8% is. Now, I did the inner core +4, and that kind of comes out to this. Inner core +4 means you can support about 4,000 people at a comfortable management level. And what do I mean by comfortable? I mean, managing 5 people is not so bad. Managing 10 people is kind of the upper limits of I'm going to suffer from burnout after doing this for a while. So, my comfortable for an inner core +4 is this. And that's my understanding of Jack Dorsey's inner core +4, which refers to Dorsey's direct reports, the inner core, and then 4 levels of direct reports beyond that. So, the inner core, you could think of it as the C-suite. Then you have your VPs, your directors, your engineering managers, and your engineering. This is actually a really great layout, and it is pretty simple, and I like it. But really, how many people does this support? Well, if you're saying that everybody is comfortable at 5 and your target average is 5 per person, that puts you at about 3,900 people, which, as we've discussed, they have more than that. So they can't run it comfortable. What can they do? Well, if you run, completely gun-ho and everybody has 10 reports, you can actually support 111 people. It's a staggering number, and I wanted to point out some of my problems with this. It's 10 hours of one-on-ones a week for everyone, and that doesn't include your one-on-one with your boss or your boss's boss, your jump one. So some weeks it's at least 11 hours of one-on-ones because you have your boss, and then on some weeks you're going to have 12 hours with the leap bosses. So you're talking about 11 to 12 hours a week of one-on-ones for everyone. That's rough. That's rough. Okay. That's a lot of time on that. Teams are larger also, which means they get more work, which means there's actually more management of the team. When you have a team of 3 engineers, they're hyper focused on the thing that they're doing, and there's not a whole bunch of stuff. But if you have a team of 10 engineers, there's too many engineers to just be hyper focused on that one thing, which means now your engineering manager has more to do with just managing the project and the things like this. This is just more stress and a whole lot less. It's a lot more stress. I fear that if you go this way, you're going to be suffering burnout, especially if everyone is pushed to this type of scale. Now, so they're too big for this. This is burnout, but they don't need 100,000 people. So was there a better one? I meant stick it to the leaders, not suck it leaders. Anyways, stick it to the leaders is maybe my preferred, because I feel like when management makes these choices, you should make managers pay for it. So your inner core gets 7 reports, your VPs get 7 reports, then your directors can be 6 reports, managers 5 reports, and you have enough people. I think that this is kind of the noble approach to taking it, because these are the people making this decision. They can also bear the burden. Another thing that's really important to point out here, though, is that not all managers are the same. I probably am much better at 5 than I am at 6, but there are also directors that I'm sure can do 7 and 8. It also depends on what those teams are dealing with. If you're managing more smaller teams, maybe it's actually easier. If you're managing larger teams that are 10 people, it's even harder. So this scales up with how big the teams are underneath as well. But this would work. So maybe they're going more towards this. I would actually love to talk to Jack Dorsey about how he's trying to organize it. My preferred here would be actually to put more on the managers and less on the directors. Middle management here kind of they get the short end of every single freaking stick out there. And they probably, in my personal opinion, have some of the most challenging jobs out of all of these. And I actually think that this is where you have people that are starting to be, instead of like direct, like, your engineering managers have a team that their team has a focus, a charter, and whatnot. When you start getting directors, you have teams with different charters, and you have multiple teams of them, and you have to actually weigh those things, and you have to start adding in budget and stuff like that and whatnot. So it can be overwhelming for these people because it's kind of their first step. This is kind of a middle ground between VP, where you're doing more of that abstract, but you're still doing the not abstract in the physical with these teams. So this is probably what I would prefer to do, and this gives Block their amount of time. But if Jack Dorsey would like to come on and talk about how they're roughly trying to do this, I would love to. What are your all's thoughts? For every manager? What do you mean for every manager? Buy now, pay later? But yeah, buy now, pay later companies are morally bankrupt. Thank you. I agree. I agree. I get annoyed every time I see it, and I hate companies that partner with them. Anyways, I just thought that this was kind of fun. We have some information from the email, and I was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? It means that they do something like this. But yeah, each person is also different. I know some really great managers that can manage 10 people. I know some really great managers that can manage 5 people. They're great in different ways. They're absolutely fantastic in different ways. And so it varies from manager to manager, from director to director, from VP to VP. Oh, you're right. You're right. Only 1 hour for individual. So all the engineers would only have 1 hour of. That's actually a really great point. I was thinking about these levels here. I actually think that where you suffer the most burnout is your director level. I think that's probably, but all of these get the 11 hours of one-on-ones, which is a ridiculous amount. A ridiculous amount. It's also not fair to the individual team members. You're right. You're right. The thinner spread your manager is, the less time they have to help mentor you and whatnot. So I think that it's also bad for career growth. That's actually a really good point that I hadn't put on there. So anyways, now obviously they don't need to do this. They don't need to do this. How they're going to sort it, I think they have plenty of viable ways. I honestly like 5. I honestly think that this is now, if you're past 4,000 people, maybe 5,000, because like I said, there's a few people that could do 6 and easily get this to 5,000. Past 5,000, this obviously doesn't work anymore. And now you either need to add a layer. You need to add another layer. We all know this is where interns come in. Or you need to figure out a way for people to manage more. This is also a joke. Just so you guys know. Not a joke. I mean a joke. It's a joke. All right, moving forward. I thought this was interesting. I wanted to dig into it a little bit. I could see with roughly 13,000, I could see how this became easy to get another layer in because people like to manage 5, I think. So, anyways, that was interesting. Let's talk open source. Have you guys been dying for a little bit of drama? Have you just been thinking, man, wouldn't the open source community be better if we had just a little bit more drama? Well, the OSI board of directors thought, yeah, that'd be right on. We want people to know what the OSI is. We don't want them to think of Oracle. We want them to think of us. Open drama llama. Fantastic. Now I need an open drama llama, which only just like we now need to train an AI on llama to be all about drama when it responds. Like just dramatize everything and call it the open drama llama, because that would be a fantastic YouTube video. I'm going to create the open drama llama together with you guys on stream, whether you like it or not. All right. Well, the open source initiative announcing the new board of directors for the OSI board. Okay. Why did this happen? Well, it happened because the people who they wanted to vote for got disqualified because there was a surprise like thing you have to sign 2 days prior that disqualified people. See, 2 were ineligible as they did not sign the current board agreement. But this board agreement was not made evident. I don't remember the exact days. I should have found out the exact days. It was like 2 days prior. Welcome back. Drop in frames.